Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Hi, folks. Welcome back. And those of you that are new, welcome. From Fox News, here are the 6 remaining holdouts preventing Kevin McCarthy from becoming House Speaker. Yeah. Well, the fact of the matter is 14 peeled off, 15, depending on how you count it. Let's take a look first at the original 20, and then we're going to take a look at the demands. It should say demands/requests of the so-called Freedom Caucus. Everybody's calling them, they're just obstructionists and blah, blah, blah. But let's take a look at who it was, and then we're going to see who or what they wanted the supposedly new speaker to do. Now, these aren't so outrageous. This is what the Freedom Caucus wanted, list of demands. Any one member can bring up the motion to vacate the chair, meaning the speaker. Probably has to be seconded and then they do a vote. Okay. Before it was leadership had to do it, that was Pelosi's rule. Because they just simply don't trust Kevin McCarthy. So if he makes promises he doesn't keep, they want to see if they can do a motion to vacate. Okay. You know what would be interesting, though, when they vote for the speaker, that it was a secret vote. In other words, you could vote, but you didn't know who you voted for. I bet you things would be a lot different. But I digress. Give power back to each individual Congress member. That's the problem. You know, Congress sucks. It sucks. It's terrible. It's got a 17% approval rating, but we like our congressman. I was like, really? And everybody says that? Give the power back to a Congress member. I go along with that 100%. Individual Congress members should be able to offer legislation. When I was a sitting council member in upstate New York, city councilman in the early 2000s, with the first 4 years I was in the minority, second 4 years in the majority, I offered legislation all the time. I had to go through committee, and there's 3 on each committee, and if 2 signed off on it, or 5 of the council, there were 9 members at the time, it goes to the floor for a vote. Now, whether the majority party will let it even get to the floor, that's another issue. Floor vote in individual Congress members' legislation. No amendment has been offered by individual members on the House floor in open debate since May 2016. That's almost 7 years of Congress members' legislation. Unbelievable. Any one member can make an amendment to a piece of legislation if it was germane to the legislation. In other words, just something out of the blue. Say it's money for military equipment, and you put in there money for, we'll say, LGBT training in Turkey. You think that's not true? It happens all the time. A minimum time to review legislation before it comes to the floor, 72 hours minimum. They're getting multi-thousand-page bills, have no clue where the money's going, and voting. 72 hours isn't very long, but I'll take that as a compromise. Single-issue bills instead of multiple different issues with one bill that is thousands of pages long. That I got to applaud. Did you actually know the last was a $1.7 trillion bill that just passed? There was a $100,000 grant to study whether Thanos, that's the character in the movies, that was going to, by snapping his fingers after he got certain jewels, I think I'm trying to remember, could get rid of half the population in the universe. Whether he can actually flick his fingers. It's amazing. $100,000. And there's a ton of stuff like that. Elect chair of committees instead of having them assigned. Yeah, that takes power away from the chair. That takes power away from the speaker, I should say. Yeah. That way he can't retaliate on these guys when all's said and done. I'll do number 9 for last because that's the most important. Subcommittees should have the ability to issue subpoenas, which will allow more investigations to occur. I'm 50-50 on that one because someday the Democrats are going to be in control of Congress, and they're going to use that. So I'm not so sure if you're putting bullets in a gun and hand it to the Democrats. So I'll just leave judgment off on that one. But this is the big one, number 9. Speaker will not be involved in primaries aimed to defeat other conservatives. Kevin McCarthy was either involved directly or indirectly. We're talking 30, 40, $50 million, and some people are saying, to go after candidates he didn't like on the Republican side that had a primary, because he didn't want America First candidates to win. So he funded their primary opponent. That's actually true. And all those millions and millions of dollars just peed away, could have been used in the senatorial race. Oz was outspent by a ton. It's just amazing. Herschel Walker was outspent. There was a Senate race, I believe, in New Hampshire they could have put money in. Kevin McCarthy was directly involved in getting his own people put out, but not the kind of Republican he wanted. It's ridiculous. Now, let's see the original 20 here. This is the original 20. Now, there's only 6 left. Kevin McCarthy right now needs 4 out of the 6. And I think the last 2 they're going to say no are Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert. They're going to be the last holdouts, and the other 4 will eventually cave, or maybe all 6 we'll have to see. But this is the original 20. Anybody wants to check it out, in case there was some misnomer on who it was, this is who it is. So we'll probably get a speaker tonight. The one thing I wanted to say, though, is I wish they wouldn't do it today, on January 6th of all. I mean, this is, they call it in politics bad optics. And by the way, President Biden today, when he calls it an insurrection, which really was a riot by a bunch of dummies, he said July 6th insurrection. He said July 6th instead of January 6th. Democrats, that's who you voted for. From becoming the next Speaker of the House of Representatives following the 13th round of voting Friday. Now, I'm going to put this video out before 10 o'clock, and that's when they adjourn to. So we'll see what happens. Friday's ballots have been the most positive for McCarthy so far with a drawn-out process. 14 of the 20 initial members electing not to support him have flipped their votes, and quiet concerns that he wouldn't be able to reach the threshold required to elect. Those members still choosing not to vote for McCarthy are Andy Briggs, who I like a lot, Lauren Boebert, Representative-elect Eli Crane, and you see the rest of the list there. A lot of them are representative-elect, and that should speak volumes. And there's Matt Gaetz, who threatened to resign if McCarthy is Speaker. So I don't know what's going to go on here. I really don't. Representative-elect Andy Harris, Republican Maryland, was the sole holdout to flip to McCarthy in the 13th round and won president. And you can go through and read the rest of the article. With those additional votes, McCarthy expected to have the 216 total votes, remaining just 2 of the 6 remaining holdouts would need to flip their support in order to reach the required threshold. The fact of the matter is, and I'm going to leave it right here on McCarthy, fact of the matter is they don't trust Kevin McCarthy. They don't. His past voting record is the uniparty 1980s Republican. Those days are over. He went against, he voted for almost every single major thing the Democrats wanted. It's amazing to me. Just because you're in the minority doesn't mean you have to vote against everything the Democrats put up. But the big stuff, the big ticket items, things that, abortion, same-sex marriage, the list is endless on some of the things. It's amazing to me. He's a lukewarm conservative. Now, he as bad as Mitt Romney? Of course not. Nobody's that bad. Or Liz Cheney. He was supposed to be Speaker, if you remember, when Trump was first elected, but Paul Ryan ended up being Speaker, and Paul Ryan did everything in his power to stop President Trump and his agenda. And these guys are afraid that Kevin McCarthy is going to do the same. But he's eventually going to get in. I just wish they wouldn't do it tonight on January 6th. So we're going to have to see. Now, those lists of demands are reasonable. They're very reasonable. And I think any common sense person that's paying attention would go along with those. We're going to have to see. And then we're going to have to see if he agrees to things, whether he does it. And that's maybe why they want to remove him easily if he goes back on his word. And so the world turns. It is not the end of the world. Taking a few days to pick the second behind the President of the United States in succession order, the most powerful, influential office probably in the world. Yeah, it takes a few days, so what? It is not the end of Western civilization. The world is still turning. The Republic is still here. And if our country is so fragile that we can't take 4, 5, 6 days to pick the Speaker of the House, we're in a lot more trouble than I had thought. Anyway, folks, there it is. We'll see what happens. He'll eventually be Speaker. I just hope that Boebert and Gates aren't the last two, and then he gets it, and then he'll retaliate against them. We'll have to see. But there's a lot of bad blood here, and hopefully they can patch it up and move on and go after the things that are important. Investigations in Biden Inc. and on and on and on. And how intelligence services gave money to social media to go against the First Amendment rights of millions of Americans. And how the intelligence services, the FBI, the CIA, is going after political enemies. This is third world country crap. We'll see. We'll have to see. Are we going to beat Charlie Brown with the football again? Maybe, maybe not. Until next time, goodbye and good luck.